Welcome, Freight Masters. It is Tuesday, May 2nd. To kind of get right into it, this truckers protest out in front of the DOT, right? Reportedly, there was roughly 1,100 truck drivers that were there. According to the video that I saw, there was like maybe 20 or 30 that actually ended up showing up. I don't know if the rest of them were sitting at the Waffle House or the local Denny's or something or what, but yeah, only about 20 or 30 actually ended up showing up on the video, at least what it showed, right? I have a couple of issues, and this is just my 2 cents on it all. Anytime you get the federal government involved, they're going to screw stuff up, right? You're never going to be happy one way or another. Somebody's always going to be upset. And if you move into a regulated market versus a free market, yeah, that is bad news. Okay. Now, of some of the questions, now, obviously, the DOT, they came out, talked to them for 15, 20 minutes. They're not going to waste a bunch of time for the 20 or 30 people that actually ended up showing up, right? And I know they poured dirt out on the sidewalk and they drew a line and they were crossing it. And yeah, but no. They're not going to waste their time on 20 or 30 truck drivers that are out there. And it shouldn't be of any kind of shock, right? I think a lot of us probably knew that how this was going to turn out. It didn't, to my knowledge, I searched, it didn't make local news, it didn't make national headlines or anything. It was a lot of chest puffing for nothing. Now, the trucking industry is a free market. It's an open market, right? So I don't hear carriers complaining when rates are up, right? Everybody's making fat cash, making their stacks. But the moment that there's a downturn in the market, like we're seeing now, right? And this happens predominantly about every 2.5 to 3 years. Okay, we've said this before. We've said it for a long time. For those of you that might be new to the industry, it happens, and that's why we need to prepare ourselves for when that happens, right? Of the questions that I heard at the protest, right, some of it was about kind of your big box brokerage. Oh, they want us to sign this or we don't get the load. So don't haul for them. Don't haul for them, right? If you don't like the agreement, if you don't like the contract, don't do it, right? Oh, these shippers and receivers, they and maybe I'll catch some flack from some drivers about this, but again, this is my 2 cents, my opinion, right? If I show up too early, I get penalized. If I show up too late, I get penalized. I have to show up right at that minute. Okay, well then don't go there anymore, right? I've said it before, nobody's holding a gun to your head. Why would, isn't that kind of the idea of, what do they call it? The idea of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, right? And why are you out protesting in front of the DOT if these, whoever the brokers are, and I'm not suggesting anybody do this, right? This is my opinion, but I would be out protesting in front of them. I would be out protesting in front of these shippers. If they're not letting you use the bathroom, right, a basic human need, protest out in front of them or stop hauling their freight, right? It's simple as that. When I solicit a new prospect, one of the things that I do, and I've said this before, I've been saying it for a long time, I look at Google reviews on those customers, right? On those shippers, those receivers. Oftentimes I'll look it up before I accept a load. If I've got a customer that says, "Hey Tim, can you take care of this load for me?" Sure. But I'll look to find out who the shipper and receiver is, right? If they've got bad reviews, and I mean a bunch of them that says, "Hey, you know," from all these drivers saying, "I've sat here for 8 hours, 9 hours, you know, I couldn't use the bathroom," you know, stuff like that. I'm not probably going to send one of my drivers in there, right? Because I'm all about building relationships. I've been preaching this for forever, right? Because who do you think that driver is going to blame? He's going to blame me, right? Because I'm the one that they deal with directly. And he's going to pull up my phone and say, "Tim, fix this," right? And sometimes I can, but sometimes I can't, right? Or they just won't call or say anything at all. But then after the fact, you know, then they'll let me know, "Hey, I arrived at the shipper or the receiver, whatever." And then they'll wait until after the fact to say, "Hey, you know, here's my paperwork, here's bill of lading, here's my invoice and everything. But we sat at the receiver for 7 hours. I need detention." No, you need to let me know before it happens, right? I can't go back I can't turn back time, right? And it states that in the rate confirmation. You've got to read your paperwork. I'm getting burned out, guys. I truly, truly am. I feel like too many times I'm leading a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? I forgot to turn on my comments here. If you guys have anything to chime in on, let me know. If you guys don't already have DAT, you want 30 days free, even if you don't continue to be a paid member, there's a link in the description down below. You see the DAT one, get 30 days free scrolling across there. I would suggest getting DAT. It's my favorite load board. Every Tuesday, they talk about, market trends and things like this, to kind of help educate everybody, whether you're a broker or a driver or a carrier owner, and that information and that data that they're showing us and kind of where those trend lines and things are will kind of let us know, right? And while nobody has a crystal ball with any kind of true certainty, but we can kind of look at that data and sort of predict, right? And that will kind of let us know and what market areas are hot, which ones aren't, right? If you're running into BF Montana nowhere and you've got a deadhead 500 miles out to find a halfway decent load, why did you haul a load up to nowhere, Montana, in the middle of nowhere, right? Why did you run to Florida without getting paid to run down there? It boggles the mind. It truly boggles the mind. You've got to educate yourself. And it doesn't matter whether you're a broker or a driver. Education is key, especially in this industry, right? Otherwise, if you don't want to think, and go flip burgers at McDonald's, right? Something else I want to talk about is I've I've seen some other videos about load brokers. Maybe you've seen them and you kind of get my Canadian accent there. And how they're unnecessary. Well, they're necessary because shippers need brokers. They don't exist because of carriers. They exist because of shippers, right? The same way dispatchers exist because of carriers. They want to get behind the wheel and just drive. They don't want to, look for loads and do all of that. They want somebody else to handle that for them, right? If you don't like dispatchers, don't use them. But at the same time, you've got to educate yourself and know how to, route yourself, right? You've got to stay on top of stuff. You can't just get in and drive. Otherwise, you got no reason to complain. Anybody else got any thoughts on this protest and what I've talked about? Anybody want to chime in on it? You think I'm right, wrong? Maybe my cheese slid right off my cracker and you don't agree with it? Don't be shy. But it's if you've been in this industry for any length of time, right? You see a lot of things, you meet a lot of people, and you can tell those who know what they're talking about and those that don't, right? And those that are just sort of floating along on a, I don't know. But do we have any new brokers out there that maybe landed their first customer? If you have, chime in, let me know. Or maybe your book of business is blowing up, as a result of some of these videos. Like I said, I'm your guys. I hope to try to be your biggest cheerleader, right? I really do, because I believe in you, and I think that anybody that gets into this industry, whether you're an owner operator or a broker or whatever, I don't ever want to see anybody fail. But there's too many out there, and I don't know. Maybe okay. Here's something else. Shippers, I think, tend to have better memories than some brokers and even a lot of carriers, owner operators, right? When we were in a capacity crunch and the market rate went sky high, right? And carriers were out there, they were loving it. They were loving it. Well, then what happens? Then you end up in an overcapacity. So the market starts to taper back down. And now we've seen a downturn in the economy, right? And things, Bed Bath and Beyond. I think I mentioned that in the previous video. They're shutting down. It happens. Like I said, about every 2.5 to 3 years, this happens. You need to prepare yourself, right? You need to build relationships. If you're running strictly off the spot market, that's a losing game. If you don't like working with a certain broker, stop working with them. Get a hold of a broker that's going to treat you right, build that relationship. But that also means, and I still have this problem from time to time. I don't typically have a ton of spot market freight, right? Because I've built relationships over the years, and I do my best to take care of those relationships and nurture them, right? And it doesn't matter whether they're a carrier or a customer. I do my best to try to, keep that, what I referred to as a happy marriage between all three parties, right? But when I do have spot market freight and I don't have anybody available, an additional load to handle that, it's kind of like the Wild West right now, or like Forrest Gump might say, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And you'll get a carrier that'll call you on the load. Oh, yeah. We'll take care of that for you. No problem, man. Don't worry, boss. I got you. Uh-huh. Usually when I hear that kind of thing, it's like, yeah, there's going to be issues. And there normally is. I can't get updates. I can't get paperwork back from them. Driver's typically late. They've got every excuse in the world, and this same carrier wanted $11 a mile. Well, that's not going to happen in this market, number one. Number two, I don't know you. Number three, if that's your level of service, you don't deserve high rates, right? If you're trying to build a relationship and get those kind of rates, your level of service has got to improve, right? Same thing with brokers. Shippers are putting more and more, and again, I believe I talked about this in the previous video. Shippers, a lot of them right now are doing their best to keep market rates down, right? We were talking about the memory of shippers versus carriers. They remember that. They remember when rates were sky high and carriers weren't willing to negotiate, right? They remember that. So they're taking advantage of the market on it while it's down, right? Same as carriers would if it's up. Does that not make sense? If you were a shipper, right? I mean, maybe someday UNICEF will get into the logistics industry, but for now, it is what it is, right? This isn't charity. Everybody's in business, whether you're an owner, operator, broker, shipper, receiver, right? Everybody's in business. Everybody's trying to make profit. If you don't make profit, you die. Sometimes brokerage profits are down, same like carriers, same like shippers, depending upon how the market fluctuates, right? But we don't think about that. When the market's down, everybody wants to cry in their beer, point a finger, blame somebody else. It's frustrating because you try to point out, they don't want to listen. They'd rather make accusations, or they look at like contract rate versus spot market. Oh, this is what brokers are getting paid, and then this is what they're paying us. No, that's not even how that works. I've got some customers right now, for example. We've had this. They've had loads out there for what, about the last week and a half that haven't moved. Why? Because the rates are low. But they'll just let it sit. They don't care. Eventually somebody's going to take them. Right? Desperation will set in and somebody will take those loads. Might be from me, might be from another broker, but somebody's going to end up taking them. And they're not sitting back going, oh, geez, we didn't move that load in the last 2 days. We've got to bump the rate up. The rate has not changed, not a single bit. There are still some shippers out there, some customers that are paying decent. And there's other ones out there that I don't know where they get their numbers. They throw a bunch of rates in a fishbowl or a hat and they swirl it around and they go, whoop. Yep, that's what we're going to pay on that one. I have no idea how they come up with that stuff. Because it doesn't make any sense, right? And I don't know, maybe their customer is inevitably the one footing the bill, and but yeah, but that's nothing new, right? Even in an up market, I've had some customers that all of a sudden turned real cheap, but I don't typically post those loads and I don't offer them to my network of carriers, right? Unless they say, hey, Tim, you got anything from over here to over there? Yeah. Uh-oh. Usually it was what I hear. Tell me about it. All right. So I'll go through the details. What's it paying? I'll tell them. They go, holy cow. It happens, right? Nobody's putting a gun to my head to make me post the load or try to force a carry. I just turn it down, right? Because it's a thorn in my happy marriage. Anywho, what do you guys think? I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. I like I said, I saw the videos from the protest yesterday and everything, and I pretty much knew how that was going to turn out. I'd talked to a few other colleagues and stuff, and we discussed it, and yeah, it pretty much did exactly what we thought. I was really kind of surprised by some of the questions, though, because like I said, I don't know why. And I mean, and they were talking about, before this even went off, about going out and protesting in front of the load board companies. They're software companies. They don't dictate rates, right? They report them. Come on. Get an education. It's frustrating. Anywho, that's my rant for the day. Okay? If you guys need any resources, if you need load boards, if you need factoring, if you need a TMS, right? freightbrokerresources.com or thetruckersresource.com. I do have some website updates that I'm doing. We are offering freight broker training now. And there is a link down below for that. You can choose between monthly, yearly, or lifetime, right? Maybe you have some, maybe you're a broker right now and you have some agents that maybe aren't completely up to speed, or they don't have any other type of training. That lifetime training, you can set them in front of the computer and have them go through it. Hey, be worth the investment, right? Or maybe you're a carrier right now thinking about going into the freight brokerage, and that's the thing. I've talked to a lot of carriers that try to get into freight brokerage, and I don't know, maybe just happenstance, but a lot of them, they can't switch their mindset from being a carrier to a broker, right? It's really kind of even though we're all in the same industry, it's sort of an apples and oranges sort of thing, to an extent. But I talked to a few guys, I used to be a driver, and I'm gonna work on 3% margins or 1% margins, 5% margins, whatever it is. And I flat out tell them, then you're going to die. Your business will die. You cannot survive, right? And are you going to factor? Well, yeah, I'm going to have to. Well, you just ate up your profit with factoring fees, right? Because the average factoring fee is about 3%, right? Average. So if you're working on 3 to 5% margins, you're not going to make any money. Do you realize how much freight you'd have to move? Especially for a one-man operation or a two-person operation, it'll never happen. Anywho, guys, like I said, if you guys are needing into that, hit the websites up, or you can reach out to me directly, freightmasterresources@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and put that up for you in case I said that too fast. Thought I had it up here. Oh, I don't know what happened to it. Give me a moment. Apparently I can't spell today. Got fat fingered on the keyboard there. Okay. There's the email if you want to reach out to me directly. So I appreciate you guys staying with me. I hope that some of this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions about anything, need anything, by all means, again, email me. I'll be more than happy to, and I'll do my very best to help you out. If you need to schedule some time with me for freight sales consultation or something, or maybe you're a carrier trying to, network and build a relationship, let's talk, right? Let's talk. I've got some new customers. I've got some new lanes opening up. I'm constantly building my network of good carriers, right? You take care of me, I'm going to take care of you. You're going to get the straight dope from me. So, anywho, that being said, guys, if you're not already a member of the Facebook group, join the group. Okay? Links for everything is down below. And as always, be kind to one another. Bye-bye now.